The Victoria Bridge, just outside Robertson, was built just over 100 years ago in 1882 to carry people across the Breede River. Now it's the site of final preparations for those aiming to make their own way across the water, with speed, endurance and winning in mind. For this is the start of this year's Breede River Canoe Marathon. The river very high and fast flowing this year, and that should make for some very exciting racing all the way. Some of the paddlers getting into problems right at the start. But once everyone has got away and the jockeying for initial positioning is over, the leaders settle down to set a tough pace up at the front. Henry van der Berve and Axel Zorner in the lead group alongside Daniel Conradi and Maury Wilson, who are one of the favourite teams to win this year's event. But a lot can happen between here and the finish, and the paddlers taking it easy over one of the numerous weirs spaced along the river. The lead group already establishing a gap back to the main pack, the chase group forming to try and bring back the front runners. Canoe Smits and James Mangold through the weir, needing to stay close at this stage in order to have a chance later. Also through now the first of the mixed pairs, with Pete Cole and Nicola Lithau in the centre of the diamond, while up ahead Conradi and Wilson start to put the pressure on the other leaders. It takes a lot of work to stay with the pace, even to the sides or back of the diamond, and that can lead to lost tempers when the canoes get too close to each other and the paddles collide. Van der Berve and Colin Simpkins exchanging words for a few moments, but then getting right back into rhythm. Conradi and Wilson still up at the front of the fray, with danger men Graham Monteith and Michael Cheeseman tucked right in behind them, playing a waiting game and looking for any opportunities that might come up. Jean Wilson and Ankie Malherbe leading the women's race at this stage and looking very strong in the middle of the pack, building up a big gap back to Sandra Erdley and Nita Jonker. Rudder problems though for Jeanette Walder and Lisa Conradi, however, as they pull to the bank with a broken rudder, and if it can be fixed at all, that will put them way back. Sub-veteran pair of Ralph Toolings and Alan Cunningham in the middle of the pack going past as Walder and Conradi get going once again, having managed to sort out their rudder problems. Well, problems of a different sort for the leaders as they approach the next weir, although the high water making it a lot easier than normal to get through. But the way still very rocky and a lot of spectators watching for the action as the paddlers battle to find the channels. And that means everyone has to find their own way, experience starting to play a big part in the race. The second pack hit the weir as well, Wilson and Malherbe still leading the women's race by a big margin. A traffic jam forming on the weir just behind them, and the middle and back markers starting to back up as the camera crew manhandle their boat over the rocks. Hey, not too many canoe races where the boats have to watch out for cars crossing, but the water very shallow at these points, and Chris Wolf having a rough time of it. Bernie Wenzel and Samantha van Riet taking it very carefully so as not to snap the spine of the canoe and almost losing it for a moment there. Richard Ardern and Ken Findlay take it a lot faster, but still get hung up for a while before they manage to rock the canoe and get going once again. Things looking very peaceful, but the river still with a few surprises as the leaders come to the final weir on day one. The first canoes through, taking a sharp left immediately after the drop, seeking the calm waters on the left side of the river, while many of the others take the far right bank in an attempt to find a shortcut. The camera crew having to move it at times to keep up with the paddlers, the pace very fast as the leaders approach the finish. Conradi and Wilson over the line first, sprinting away from Monteith and Cheeseman, with Simpkins and Oldert slipping into third position. So the end of the first day gives the crews a chance to dry off, have a hot meal and then start preparing the canoes for the second day. An early awakening for all the competitors as final preparations are made after repairs were carried out the previous evening. Down to the river at the low water bridge, the leaders setting off in cool conditions some 400 metres downstream from the bridge itself. Daniel Conradi and Moray Wilson, the overnight leaders, although with just 3 seconds on Graham Monteith and Michael Cheeseman, and another second up on Colin Simpkins and Nick Oldert. This section of the river a lot narrower than the previous day, and the pack starting to string out a lot, with the two old men of the sea, Rob McLean and Gil van Deventer, pushing the pace in the middle of the pack. The first major obstacle of the day, the waterfall, and although the high water makes it a lot easier to negotiate than in previous years, police divers still on hand in case of emergency. Conradi and Wilson leading the way through with Monteith and Cheeseman behind them, the rest of the pack following with the cheers of the spectators to hurry them along. But the inevitable has to happen. Several canoes going over as the traffic flow starts to build up at the narrow gap. Gene Wilson and Ainke Malherbe consolidating their 16-minute lead from day one, while up at the front things are changing rapidly.
50 metres, we're going all the way if we can.
The voice of Graham Monteith as he and Michael Cheeseman sprint hard after breaking past Conradi and Wilson to take up a 50-metre lead. It's now the turn of Conradi and Wilson to follow, and it's not going to be easy to close that gap again, even though they have the advantage of being able to work together with the rest of the canoes in the diamond. Monteith and Cheeseman still pushing hard, determined to maintain the gap and even open it up further. Monteith very experienced in this race. And that means that Conradi and Wilson have to organise the chase group to go after them, which in turn means having to take the lead spot on the diamond once again. But there'll be a little chance of finding an advantage from the river itself, with Monteith's vast experience guiding the lead canoe. Gene Wilson and Ainke Malherbe coming through, the gap between them and their nearest rivals opening up even further. Sandra Eardley and Rory Bohm often partnering up in the race before, but Eardley teaming up with Nita Jonker this time, and now some 20 minutes back in second place. Monteith and Cheeseman managing to open up the gap back to the chase group even further after breaking out of the narrow channels and heading for the final weir with a huge lead. Well, just 4 kilometres to go, but even now the weir could spell disaster, although the leaders taking things very coolly and making sure of the channel. They've managed to build up a lead of 1.5 minutes over Conradi and Wilson in second place, the day one leaders now having to content themselves with defending their silver medal position. Monteith and Cheeseman on the Golden Mile, the final stretch of water before the finish line as the chase group, as well as the rest of the pack, negotiate the weir.
Look, we were 3 seconds behind yesterday, so we knew we had to do a breakaway today, and we knew it was going to be hard, and we knew we were either going to die or we were going to get away. And the idea was to just put pressure on from the start. So we went flat out from the start. We made a bit of a mistake at the waterfall and let them actually get through the waterfall ahead of us. It wasn't a little bit of effort. It was a hell of a lot of effort, but yeah, it paid off. I'm pleased to have done this.
Okay, well done.
It's all worthwhile if you get to the end first. The pain doesn't seem so bad. The hardest races are the ones that come second.
And that place reserved for Conradi and Wilson, with Simpkins and Oldert taking third, and Benny Reinders and Gustav Smook the fourth place. The timekeepers making sure of the combined results over the 2 days and putting Wilson and Malherbe first in the women's race by almost 22 minutes in the end. And for the rest of the paddlers, there was the excitement, the risk and the mistakes to negotiate before the finish line, and the satisfaction of completing another Breede River Canoe Marathon.